This is Hunter. He's going to be my audience for today. And my brother's behind the camera. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about bass fishing. For people who are new to bass fishing or just fishing in general, some people's idea of fishing is just going down to the local bait shop and getting a can of red wigglers and catching a day's limit's worth of fish. And people do this all the time, and I myself do it from time to time. It just seems to be the simplest form of fishing that there is. And it's really easy for a father to take his son down to the creek and teach him how to fish because it's just that simple. And it's something that the boy can interact with. By the end of the day, being able to put that slimy worm on the hook without the help of his father, it's an accomplishment in the eyes of the young man. Now on to bass fishing. There are so many factors that come into play while you're bass fishing, but today we're just going to keep it simple and focus on how to build your rod to go bass fishing. The first thing you want to do is choose your rod. You don't want a rod that's too small. You want your rod to be small enough that when you cast your bait, that it's going to be accurate. But you don't want your rod that's too small either, because 90% of the bass that you're going to catch are going to be anywhere from 2 to 5 pounds. And if you have a small rod, it's not going to be able to handle a fight that a 5-pound bass can put up. At the same time, you don't want a rod that's too big either, because it'd just be too heavy and too hard to cast, and very difficult to make your bait work in the water, because there's just so much bulk that goes with the big pole. You use the length of your rod to increase the velocity of the bait or your lure. The size rod that I would recommend for bass fishing would be anywhere from a 6-foot rod to a 7.5-foot rod. The larger rod would help you set the hook in the fish, but the smaller rod would also help you provide more accuracy. Now that we have your rod all figured out, it's time to choose the reel. Choosing the reel is the hardest part of the whole setup, because there's so many different reels on the market these days, and most people just walk into Bass Pro Shops and buy the most expensive reel that they can find and tell themselves that it's going to help them catch a bunch of fish just because it was so expensive. But one of the main factors that goes into choosing the right reel is how fast you want your bait to be traveling through the water. Do you want it to be skimming fast across the top of the water, or sinking down to the bottom, presenting the bait to the fish in the lower depths? A reel with a gear ratio of 5 to 1 would be your choice for getting that bait into the deeper water. A faster reel with about a 7 to 1 gear ratio would be great for fishing somewhere where you didn't have a lot of space and you had a limited amount of time to present the fish with your lure. So this reel, it allows you to cast and reel your bait up faster so that you maximize the number of presentations that you give to the bass. The reel mainly depends on you and what you prefer and what you're comfortable with. The next thing that's vital to your setup is your line. Some factors that we think about when we're choosing line are breaking strength, knot strength, UV resistance, castability, and abrasion resistance, and also visibility. There are 3 basic types of fishing line: monofilament, braided, and fluorocarbon lines. Monofilament is the most commonly used just because it's the least expensive and it's easier to gain access to, and it's made from a single plastic fiber. Braided line is much more stronger, and it has a tendency to knot up easily and break. But it's a very good line, and I've used it myself, but it's not worth fighting the knots and all the breaking line that you're going to have. Fluorocarbon lines are used more regularly, and they are also what I prefer to use. And they're used more regularly because they're invisible in the water, unlike the braided line, which you can see clearly under the water. Fluorocarbon line is a high abrasion resistance, and it works better when you're trying to fish areas that are dense in cover or have a lot of grass in the water. The next thing I want to talk about is the weights on your line. You don't have to use weights on your line when you're bass fishing, but it limits the distance that you can throw your lure. There are many different types of weights that people use, like the eggshell weight, the bullet weights, the pinch weights. There's a countless amount of different weights that you can use, but the most commonly that's used is the bullet weight. because just as it entails, it's a weight that takes the shape of a bullet, and it can slide down on the end of your line to your hook. There's also, different size weights, and this helps you control how far you're able to cast your line and how well it will sink in the water. A lighter weight will let you cast the lure a shorter distance, and it wouldn't sink as fast, and it would allow you to fish on top of the grass that would be underneath the water. But a heavier weight would allow you to your cast to be longer and help your lure sink faster to the bottom of the water to get the bass that are hiding in the deeper water. It all depends on where you're fishing and what you prefer to use. Now we move on to the hooks. There are all different kinds of hooks, and there's all different kinds of sizes. The higher the number of the hook, the smaller it is. Like a size 4 hook will be smaller than a size 3 hook. And the determining factor of your hook, it depends on what size fish that you're fishing for. There are also different styles of hooks, such as circle hooks, J hooks, treble hooks, but the most commonly used for bass fishing is J hooks, just because it's easier to fit soft bait on, such as a trick worm or a lizard. Determining what lure to use is very crucial, and what color lure to use is even more important. I know it sounds silly, but it really does make a difference in the amount of fish that you're going to be able to catch. The clarity of the water plays a role in this as well. If the water is clear, you want to stick with natural lures like shad, which is a small fish, or crawfish. But if the water's muddy, you want to go with brighter colors like fluorescent green in this trick worm right here, or a fluorescent green and yellow in the spinnerbait that I have, or even orange or white. The type of day that you're fishing is a big determining factor as well. You have to think kind of backwards on this. If it's really sunny outside, you want to break out the brighter colors. But when it's cloudy, you want to stick with the darker colors, such as a blue, gray, even a dark green, or a brown. This is just a quick overview on bass fishing and how to get you started on your journey to becoming a master angler. Fishing is a lifetime sport that you can pass down from generation to generation. What will you pass down to the generations that follow you?